All right, let's chitty chat, shall we? Welcome back. Let's get adjusted here. You talk back to me. Um, welcome back. Episode number 9. Number 9. Um, back in here. Back by myself tonight. Uh, another solo, another solo episode. Had a lot going on today. Couldn't get the schedule lined out with the brother. So, um, I am all alone. All alone tonight. But welcome back, and thanks again for tuning in to another episode. And I'm trying something different. I don't know if y'all. So I'm gonna give getting off nicotine a shot, and so I'm trying these ultras. Um, they're like they're nootropics. I don't even know what that is, honestly. I figured that's something that would make me fail a drug test, but they say it won't. And so I'm gonna try it out. And I do have my nicotine pouches there just in case because I just put my first ultra in before I hit the record button. So we'll see. But if anyone's used those, let me know if you like them. Let me know if I'm wasting my time or my money. But I figured I'd give it a go. But anyways, um, I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready for hunting season. We're getting close. I know there's an antler hunt in Tennessee, velvet hunt. I mean, here in Tennessee coming up soon, and I don't know. I guess to each their own on that. I'm not a big. I don't like the way the velvet looks. Honestly, I'd just rather have the bear antlers. I think those look better. But I'm ready to do some. I'm ready to do some hunting. I like fishing. This is the first summer I've really gotten into fishing, and I like it, but I hate it because the last 3 days that I've gone fishing, I've caught 2 catfish total, and those aren't good numbers. And I get it. That's why they call it fishing, not catching. But I want to do a little more catching, and I'm really bummed out because my buddy was trying to get me to go Friday morning, but I had to work Thursday night, and he wore him out Friday morning. My buddy, he's got a channel, Rooster Tales, and we're gonna start doing some stuff together here soon. And so go check him out when we're gonna do some Bible studies live stream on his channel. I'm gonna see if I can get it connected to my channel. But he's got some good stuff he's doing and filming his outdoors life. And he's got 2 channels actually. The Rooster Tales is his personal, and then he does another one with another guy, Hicklin County Boys, I think is what it's called. But both are good channels. Go check them out. Maybe I could put a link to them in this or something. I don't know. I had to get Gabe to do it. I can barely share this stuff to any of the social media stuff the right way. So, anyways, I wanted to start this episode out because I told y'all if you had questions or something, leave them in the comments. We didn't really get any questions, but I did want to take a moment to give some thank yous and respond to some of the comments from the last episode. My first one is at Slurry Mixer, who I don't know personally, but has started watching the show a few episodes ago and is always leaving great comments. So, Slurry Mixer, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. Um, I don't take any of it for granted. I think I got up to 44 followers, and I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's all you got? Hey, it's all I got. It's all you got." It started with 0, you know. Started from the bottom. Now we're here, right? And so, thank you, Slurry Mixer, and my boy at David Sturm 2086. Now we were former coworkers and great guy. Uh, like the guy now. He doesn't agree with a lot of things I say. We've had some great conversations, and I respect him. I think he's a good guy. But he commented Proverbs 18:15, "The mind of the discerning acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seek it. And I agree 100% with that. Amen, brother. I always like it when people be quoting that, be quoting them scripts in the comments. Quote the scripts in the comments. I'm down for it. So appreciate you, David. Well, I don't know how to say what you go, but I don't know if you want me to. So I'll just your at name. Um, I don't know if I'd call it support. I don't know if he likes it, but he does watch it, and I appreciate you and I love you, man. So, and then I had two more, and one is at Missy0891. She had a longer comment, and it said, "How can you trust anything Candace says?" Okay, and I want to throw this comment in there with that one at Smokey Joe 2. And he had a long comment too. But basically, he questions my discernment if I listen to Candace or Tucker, and he claims he has the shows to listen to for the facts, and maybe he does. I don't know. So to them, I would say, okay, listen. I don't think they liked the last episode, and for that, I do want to say, I want to take this moment to just apologize to absolutely nobody. Okay, because I'm not sorry. Um, I don't necessarily to Missy. I don't necessarily trust anything Candace says. I honestly don't know a lot of the things she says because I don't really listen to her. I've heard a few things here and there when it comes to the Charlie Kirk stuff because she was close to him. I mean, we have evidence that they were close. I mean, not long before he died, I think there was a video come out where he still defended Candace. And so I take that into account. Is she chasing money and clicks now? I don't know. I don't know her, and I don't care. Honestly, I'm not going to spend all my time listening to Candace Owens or anybody else for that matter. Um, so I'm not necessarily saying I do trust. I'm not saying I necessarily believe what she thinks. Like, so just let me be clear about this. Do I think TPUSA was involved in Charlie's assassination? No, I don't. I don't necessarily go there. I think that's where she might have suspicions or something. I don't necessarily go there. But she's raised a lot of good questions, and my whole point with her is that she's trying to know the unknowable. And so, and then to Smokey Joe, and I know Smokey Joe too. I think it's the person that I'm thinking of, and if it is, I know him. He's been to my house, and he's been at Bible studies I've had. And if you question my discernment on everything because I might agree with Candace on something or I might agree with Tucker, then I'm sorry you feel that way, pal. I still love you. And you can reach out to me actually if you wanted to. And I feel like maybe you've just I can't remember where you fell on some of the Bible discussions we had here at my house, whether you agreed on everything or not, but I feel like we at least had some agreements, but he questions my discernment completely because I might agree with Candace or Tucker on, and I really do like Tucker. I listen to Tucker. I don't listen to all his episodes, but I listen to him because he does say some things I like, and that doesn't mean I agree with everything. Like if I had one big critique on Tucker Carlson, it would be I think he's too soft on Islam. Like this is where I really appreciated Charlie speaking up. Was he was very outspoken about how he didn't think Islam and Western civilization could coexist, and I agree with that. And so I think Tucker tends to be a little soft on the old Islam. So that's somewhere we would disagree. And I'm sure there's plenty more. Like I said, I don't listen to everything he says. Like I don't latch on to one person outside of Jesus. I don't latch on to one person. If there's one person, I'm going to hinge on everything they say. That's Jesus. Outside of that, I'm not going to. And I'm not accusing these people, but there's a lot of people that hinge on everything Trump says. There's a lot of people that hinge on anything, a certain podcast or whatever says. I don't. Basically, what I do is if I hear something, I'll be like, well, that's interesting. And I'll try to look into it or whatever, and try to get whatever facts I can get. And if I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's a good point, and move along. It's like, I'm not like, well, now I've got to get your name tattooed on me because I agreed with this one thing. That's crazy. And so I thought the question my discernment completely. I thought it was a little harsh, but if it is who I think it is, he's a Tennessee fan, Tennessee Vols fan, and they're very bitter people. Not all of them, but some of them are. And so, and I get it, you know, I get it. But, uh, but hey, no offense. I still appreciate you listening, and to both of them. And so, my whole point uh, in that podcast or show, whatever you call it, I don't even know if I call this a podcast. This rambling that I do every week was that I didn't think the debate did any good. Um, I don't necessarily trust Andrew Wilson. I don't necessarily trust Candace Owens. My whole point with Candace is that I do feel like she's trying to know the unknowable, and that there's things that we're just not going to know. We're just not going to know. There's a lot of things out there that we know we're being lied to about, but we're never going to find the truth about. We're never going to know the truth about, at least on this side of heaven, we're never going to know the truth about 9/11. We're not. But just because I can't know what really happened doesn't mean I have to buy the lies they're telling me. All right. I don't know who did it, but I don't believe the lies that they're telling me. I don't believe all the crazy nonsense that they tell me. I have a lot of questions that can't be answered, at least, or won't be answered. Same thing with um, John F. Kennedy assassination. Same thing with just a lot of these conspiracies that we talk about. Same with the Charlie Kirk stuff. A lot of weird stuff involved in that I haven't heard answers that make me feel better about it. Do I think Tyler Robertson killed him? Not necessarily. Could he have? Yeah. Do I think he did it alone? No. Can I prove it? No. I can't prove it. Because here's what I always do. Here's what I'll typically do. When things like this happen, where there's a lot of question marks, I like to wait a little while and see who really benefited from this thing happening, right? Like, take 9/11. Who really benefited from 9/11? The Israeli government benefited a lot from 9/11. Our own government benefited a lot from 9/11. Um, I mean, like a couple of days before, the commissioner of the Federal Reserve was asked, where are all these trillions of dollars at? And he just basically said, we don't know. Like, they just lost trillions of dollars. And I get it. I've put a $5 bill in my pocket before and went back later and it's not there. And it fell out of my pocket. I was getting something else out of it and it fell out. Right. And it happens. And they just did it with trillions of dollars. Honest mistake, right? We all make mistakes and we're not perfect. And we don't demand perfection here on the Who's the Guy show. But then a couple days later, 9/11 happens. They stopped talking about that. Just weird. Just saying. I'm not saying they were involved. I'm just looking at all the stuff. And then they got the Patriot Act where they can basically spy on us all they want. And that's pretty helpful for them. So I like to look to see who benefits from these things happening. And then we look at the Charlie Kirk stuff. Who benefited from Charlie Kirk dying? Did the Israeli government benefit? Yeah, they benefited. Charlie was very outspoken against the Iran war. Had a lot of questions about what happened on October 7th. Why it took 6 hours for the Israeli government to respond, especially when they were on brink of a civil war. I mean, these are all stuff that he talked about, not me. This is stuff that he talked about. And then there's a whole thing about turning down the millions of dollars to be more of a spokesman for the Israeli government. And again, he was outspoken against Iran. Now, I don't think if he was still alive, I don't think he could have stopped the Iran war. Like, there's a lot of people that think that, look, Trump is going to do what he's going to do. And no one is going to get in his way. Yes, did he like Charlie Kirk? Did he love Charlie Kirk? Sure. Charlie Kirk helped him get elected, but that doesn't mean anything to Trump, right? Like, as long as you stay and go along with Trump, he'll say all good things about you. And people the MAGA people will be like, "Yeah, that person's great," and then next thing you know, he's you know using fifth grade humor to make fun of you on his social media posts, his Truth Social posts, and all of a sudden everybody hates him. They don't really know why. They just Trump loves them, they love him. If Trump hates them, they hate him. And they would have done the same thing to Charlie Kirk if if that would have happened. But we'll never know what would have happened. But was it just a crazy leftist group that really thought he was doing harm to the trans community? Possibly. I mean, I'm not ruling that out either. Did they benefit from Charlie Kirk dying? Yeah, because he was such a major voice and was getting a lot of people's attention. And TPUSA has not been able to replicate that since he died. I mean, that company is basically on the verge of becoming the Daily Wire already. Is it Daily Wire or Israeli Wire? I get confused. Um, but they don't have the impact without him that they did with him. And so, could it have been them? Yeah, could have been. Could it have been just Tyler Robertson by himself? I mean, technically, yeah, but again, when the FBI starts doing weird things, that's what really calls me into question. Like when they have the grounds dug up 2 days later and then call in for emergency pavers to come lay pavement over top of it, and when people within the Trump administration are saying, "Hey, there's some things that we need to investigate that involve foreign involvement," and they shut it down. It makes me wonder. I don't like Led Zeppelin. That was a Led Zeppelin reference. I don't like them. Um, they're into some weird stuff. They were big Aleister Crowley fans. Anyways, off track, back on track. So I don't know. That's my whole point. I don't know, and I'm not gonna know, and I'm not gonna overly concern myself with do I get all that stuff right. I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about the questions that I have. I'm gonna talk about the things that I don't believe. And people say, well, the facts, facts, facts. I mean, are there facts? Absolutely. I believe in objectivity. The problem is not the facts. The problem is that everyone thinks they have the facts, right? The problem is everybody thinks that their facts are the facts. And so they're claiming objectivity, and a lot of it's not, it's subjectivity. And, a great example of this is Christians with their Bible. The whole dispensationalist, and a lot of the pushback I get is from Zionist Christians who really bought into the bless those who bless you, curse those who curse you. Like, it really doesn't take much studying to understand that the church is the fulfillment of Israel, that the church is Israel. From things that Jesus says, from things that Paul talks about in his letters to the churches. It's pretty easy road to get down. But there's so many Christians who have bought into this certain eschatology. And maybe I might do an episode on eschatology. And that's, I don't know many fancy words, but if I know one, I'm going to say it. And I'm going to look cool doing it. And eschatology is one of them. And all that means is study of the end times, basically. Study of the end things. So a lot of Christians have bought into this dispensationalist premillennial view. All right, now I'm what you would call a postmillennial, but I don't know, I'm not married to that view. It's what I lean towards. I could see an all millennial view. I could see a historical millennial view, but I cannot see a dispensational view. I reject it. Um, I will tell you, they can sell some books. They can sell some books, right? And people will buy them. They'll sell these books like, you know, Jesus will return in 2021, and here's the proof. And then Jesus didn't return then, and then that same person will come out a year later, like, well, no, this is where we get like. Once you've been wrong about it, and it's not for us to know when Jesus is going to come back. It's just to be ready. Baby, get ready. You always got to be ready. And so that's the only thing I'm really concerned with. And maybe we'll do an episode on all the different end time views at some point. That might be fun, but not tonight. We got other things to talk about tonight. So there's just some things I wanted to clear up. And hey, but look, to Missy and to Smokey Joe, I still love you. And I thank you for watching the show and interacting. And you may not like me now. I don't know. But I still like you and I still love you. So there's that. Now, switch gears here because I usually like to start out with some type of a story. And I'm going to be looking at my watch a couple times. It's in here in the new room. I don't have a clock set up over there and I'm by myself. So, and by the way, if we stay in here, I do got some stuff coming here. I don't like this right here. It's just like you're seeing this plug and stuff. It's not pleasing to the eye. So I got some stuff coming. Thought it'd be here before today to hang right there. Just make it look, just spiff it up for y'all. You know, I want to make things look nice. Look nice, feel nice, right? We've talked about that before. So hopefully that'll be in for the next episode. And I haven't decided if we're gonna stay out here or not. We might take it back into the garage once it's not so dang hot outside because it is. It still is, and it's comfortable. It is comfortable in here. So, anyway, what I want to talk about tonight is a little bit. Well, it's not a little bit. It's very heavy, and so this might be heavy. So I'm not going to do a lot of like the little joking around stories that I do in it because it's something very serious, and it's something I've just really been thinking about a lot for almost a week now. And so I wanted to talk a little about what's going on with this Lindsay was it Lindsay Clancy? I think her name is. But if you know who that is, it's the if you don't know who that is, it's the lady who's on trial now where she ended the life of her three children, three young children, and tried to end her own life and was unsuccessful. And we'll get into more of the backstory what happened, but that's the big news that everyone's kind of keeping up with and following. It's sad. I feel for I I mean I feel for everyone involved in that. All right, whether you think she was within her own capability when she did this or she wasn't because of the drugs. Um, I still I still have some sympathy for her, because she has to live with that reality of what she did the rest of her life. I don't necessarily feel sorry for her, but I mean, she's got to live with that, and she deserves to live with that because she did it. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve to live with it. She does because she did it. But I can't imagine, outside of someone just being an absolute psychopath, um, her not having some remorse over it. I don't know. I don't know her. For the husband, for both of their families, for the kids that knew these kids, I think only one was school age, but still. But it's a horrific story, and it's not by itself. I mean, if you just pay enough attention, this happens more than we realize, where women or men, for that matter. There was a story not long ago where a man killed his whole family, where people just end their whole family. I don't understand it. I mean, I do understand it to the degree of where I know where it comes from. I don't understand how a person gets to that point. I've seen some dark times. Um, there was points in my life where I had considered ended my life, even as a father. But I never, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine even having that thought. You know, let's see, be careful. Let's see where. So I didn't have the best upbringing. I'm not going to get too much into that right now. I'm going to do a whole testimony at some point. I don't want my testimony to shed negative light on certain people. And so I'm trying to figure out how to do it without doing that. And I just haven't done it. I actually recorded it. It was over an hour long and I wasn't even done. And I just stopped. This was a few weeks ago. I stopped and I just deleted it. So I'm not there yet. It's not that I care about telling it. It's just, I don't want to shine negative light on people to tell my story. But I had a little bit of a rough upbringing. And um, the first time I was ever suicidal was probably early middle school. So I'd have been 10 or 11, around that age. And I don't know necessarily if it was like necessarily suicidal in the sense of actually thinking about killing myself, but it was just the first time I remember like thinking, I just want to die. And so I get that aspect of it. It's a dark place to be. It's not a great place to be. And when people get there, they got to reach out and get help. But I can't imagine going to a place where I'm like, I'm going to take my whole family out first. I, I can't go there. Like, I just can't even imagine what that thought would be like. It's horrific because the reality is, I mean, what we know, as far as I know, the facts, because, we're all about the facts, right? So she did it. She took, she sent her husband out, from my understanding, and um, she took her 3 kids once he left the house and took an exercise band and strangled them. And they had to sit there and watch, when the one would get strangled, and the two had to watch that, and then the one had to watch. And I don't know if this is true, so don't hold me to it. But somebody said something about one of them tried to run off, and she went and chased them and brought them back down and killed them as well. And then tried to kill herself by throwing herself out the window and wasn't successful, obviously. Um, it's horrible. It's a horrible story. It's a horrible reality, right? But now we're in this weird, like, we've got all these women, and that includes the men that are doing this too, that are you know showing up to support her. I don't understand that. And listen, we can have a conversation. We can have a conversation about people being drugged up. I'd love to have that conversation because that is a legit conversation that needs to be had. People are on way too much stuff. One of my struggles before I became a father, one of my struggles was pills. I had formed a Xanax addiction. Now, mine wasn't. I know people that's had addictions a lot worse than what mine was, but I did have an issue, and I'd left. I was in school. I was in college. I tried college, and I just flunked out because I was just doped up all the time. And Xanax, like I would chop up a Xanax and snort it, and then I would pop them all day long. It was like getting bad. So I moved, tried to get away from it, and I moved back home, and I was still doing it. And honestly, it was I went to a party with some people, and there were some seniors from the high school there, and I'm only like 2 years removed. I'm I think 19 at the time, so This wasn't like a weird 30-year-old going hanging out with high schoolers or nothing. These are people I knew, and I was on Xanaxes and drinking, and I don't even know who this kid was, but I hit him as hard as I could right between his eyes, and someone told me that like he had to go to prom like with the huge black eye, and I felt horrible. Like I don't even remember why, what the reason was. I don't want to. I don't want to be that person. I even like we left when I did it, and we went back, and I'd went back there because I wanted him to hit me. He was already gone, and I never saw the guy again. And I would say if I saw him again, I'd still let him hit me, but probably not. Like, okay, I'm 40. We got to get past that, dude. So don't hit me. Um, but I knew I had a problem. Is what I'm saying. I knew I had a real problem, and so I basically just detoxed myself and pretty much just locked myself away from everyone for a few days and did the whole thing. Like I said, my experience wasn't nowhere near as bad as other people's that I know. So, but it was still an addiction, and I tell that because fast forward a few years later, after I had my first son, I mean, his mother were already split up, and I was having a lot of issues. We had issues, and I'm like trying to navigate life still. Like I'm trying to figure out how to be a dad, even though I'm not around him every day, and dealing with the fact of not having to go a few days at a time without seeing him, and it was rough, especially when he was that young. He was probably two, maybe a little over 2 years old, and I couldn't go back to drugs. That was how I dealt with things as when I was younger was drugs, but I swore off drugs once he was born, so I didn't have those things to go back on. So I started having these panic attacks, and um, I had to be put in the hospital at one time because I just shut down. My body just shut down. My mind just shut down. So I didn't know how to handle stuff. And when I went to the doctor to talk about it, he asked me what was going on. I told him. He said, "I'm gonna write you a prescription. Here you go." And sent me out the door. I look at it. It's Xanaxes. That was it. He maybe talked to me 15 minutes, and then just wrote me a script for Xanaxes, and I didn't even leave the building with it. I crumbled it up and threw it away in the doctor's office right when he walked out because I knew I couldn't get back on those. So there is a serious conversation to be had about people being overly drugged. I 100% agree with that. 100% agree. And for all the people that say that I believe everything Candace says, no, I disagree with her. I did see where she had the take where basically she said this woman wasn't responsible. Completely disagree with that. She did it. Is there doctors that need to be looked at as well? I'm all for that. But her hands committed the act. And so I'm not taking responsibility away from her. But you have a lot of people who are. You have a lot of people who are we support, Lindsay, and we love her, and okay, but she still killed her children, right? Like, you understand that, right? The lady still murdered her children. And now you get these crazy feminists who are like, the husband did it. It was the husband. Uh, How much more evidence do we need to see before we just come to terms with feminism is mind rot? It really is. Feminism is mind rot. It these women who buy into it, they fall for the craziest things. And like I said, I get if you want to have the conversation about the medications, right? Postpartum. I've never had a child. I can't have a child. I won't ever experience what that is. I know a lot of women, and I know a lot of women that's had children. And do I know everything they struggled with? No. Did I ever think for a second that they would just go on a killing spree because of it? No. And if they did, I wouldn't shift the blame to someone else. Now, the easy joke to be made is, oh, women don't want to take accountability. That's low hanging fruit, right? And I don't want to make this a joking matter because it's really not, because it's something that really bothers me. Because I'll just say this, and prove me wrong. We hate our children. We hate our children in this country. What more proof do I need than abortion? So all these women who are supporting this Clancy lady and trying to make it everyone else's fault but hers, I would be willing to bet everything I own that they are all for abortions. We just had a thing, I think it was in Massachusetts, where it was the governor, I guess, surrounded by a bunch of crazy feminists, were celebrating that now in Massachusetts you can abort your child up to birth. Think about that. So you see a baby when it comes out, right? What's it look like? A human baby, right? But they say before it passes, you can off it. And they were celebrating this as women's rights. I mean, I'm sorry. What the hell is wrong with people? Seriously. I know what it is, but it still blows my mind. These are the people who will tell me I'm immoral because I think a woman should have to have a child that she's pregnant with. Yeah, I don't think I believe in human rights. I believe that when a baby is conceived, it is a human and it has rights, and it should not be allowed to be slaughtered in the place it should be the most safe at. Yes. If that makes me immoral, then call me what you want, because these people are barbaric. They think that if you believe a woman should be able to off her child in the womb, you're barbaric. You are barbaric. It's just a cluster of cells. You're a cluster of cells. You know, at the moment of conception, you know what's formed? DNA. And guess is what's one thing that you have that nobody else has the same thing of? DNA. It distinctly marks you as a individual, and that is formed at conception. So whatever you want to call that, it's human. And that it used to be abortion. It was like the whole, well, when does it become a human? And they tried this whole thing. Was it 20 weeks? Was it third trimester? Whatever. They kept trying it. The bad thing about that is science kept proving them wrong. Science kept proving, no, it's a child. And so they couldn't, it's human. So they couldn't use that now. So now a lot of them don't even argue that. A lot of them will concede that it is human, but it should be about the woman's rights. It should be about the woman's rights. And there's nothing more important in this country for a large group of women than the right to slaughter their unborn. That's what we're dealing with. We we've got to stop tiptoeing around this. I remember when it was a couple years ago when they overturned Roe v. Wade, which I don't know has even really done anything significant. People are still getting abortions, but we celebrated it. I was at a church, and a lot of us were celebrating this because that should be great news. And I even said, like, praise God for this. Hopefully, this stops the murder of innocent children in the womb. And someone within that class had the nerve to say we shouldn't say murder because it may make women feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry, not sorry. How uncomfortable do you think the babies feel when they're being pulled apart inside their mother? So sorry if I'm not concerned with how uncomfortable it might make a woman who maybe had an abortion. And look, I feel for, and there's redemption. All right, let me say that there is redemption. If you've had an abortion, there is redemption because you can be forgiven. You can take that burden to Jesus and be given forgiveness for it, but it doesn't change what you did. Like I was forgiven for my sins. I still have to deal with the reality. I had children out of wedlock. Before I was a Christian, I had children out of wedlock. I still have to deal with the reality of having children out of wedlock, but I'm forgiven for having children out of wedlock. So this is the beauty of the gospel, is that I can make these horrible mistakes and still be forgiven. And I pray that women who have had them, who maybe because I think as far as why women get, I think it's a broad, uh, I don't think everybody gets them for the same reason. I think maybe some women just really bought the lie that it's not really human. I still think they feel it in their soul what they're doing. I think there's some who are just evil and do it for fun because they can, because of the curse, because of the curse of Genesis 3, when Satan said, "You will strive after your husband." I think that points to the crazy, like, feminism is the most extreme example of what's being talked about by God there to Eve, because it's just they feel like they just got to have this power, and if they have the power of life and death over their child, there is no higher power than that for them, and so they want to hold on, and and so I think a lot of women do it for different reasons, but the reality is it's still the same. It's still the same consequence. As far as in the eyes of God, it's still sin. It's still murder. You're ending a life. You're taking a life. There's no way around that. And if you don't go to forgiveness for it, you'll answer for it. And if you're a man that encouraged it or helped in the process, you'll answer for it one day. It's just the reality. Believe me or not, you'll find out how right I am one day. If there's one thing, because the other stuff, I don't care if you think I'm right about, like the whole conspiracy stuff, whatever. Believe it, don't believe it, whatever. That's on you. There's one thing that the only thing I care about being right on is the gospel. And it's not that I'm right, it's that God's word is right. And as long as I stay to it, that's the only thing I really care about. That if you believe me or not, if you agree with me, is the gospel. Because it is the most important thing. It's how you are forgiven. It's how you have eternal life. But this is bigger than just this case. It's the decades of showing how much we actually hate our children, whether it's through abortion, whether it's through the education system, whether it's through letting other people raise our children, whether it's in the education or just people are narcissists. People have grown up being taught that life's all about you. And It should always be about you first. And this is one of the reasons why people end up hating their kids, because when you become a parent, life can't be about you anymore. I'm not saying don't take times for yourself. Everybody needs to do that at some point. You will go crazy. Not that crazy, but you need some time to breathe, right? But like when people celebrate that their kids are going back to school because they've had to deal with them every day in the summer, like what kind of attitude is that towards your children? What's that say about you as a parent? That your children are so bad that you want the government to deal with them, not you, because you love yourself more than you love your children. That's what abortion is that you love yourself more than you love your child. And so many women have bought into this. And I don't know much about this Lindsay lady. I'm not sure if she was pro life or pro choice or whatever. I would assume that from where she didn't get there in the blink of an eye. I would guess that it was years of the same feminist propaganda that she probably bought into. And not all are as bad as some. And look, not everyone's as extreme as others. There might be feminists out there who think she is at fault. I don't know. But the bigger problem here is just our general attitude towards children. I was reading um the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew the other night, and I think it's chapter 2, where it's talking about the Magi, or the wise men, as most people know them. They come to Herod, who ruled over uh, Judea at the time. They came to him in search of the Messiah, because the Magi, they were probably trained up through the teachings of Daniel, not by Daniel. There's too much time in between that, like 300 years. But most believe that they were learned. They get their learning from Daniel's teachings, so they knew what to look for as far as when the Messiah would be born, which is, you know, think about that. These Zionists and these you know people who believe in Judaism, who can't see Jesus right in front of them in the Old Testament, and here these wise men came and from the East and knew what to look for from the Old Testament. Whatever, it's a whole nother discussion for another time. But they say, "Where's the king at? The king of the Jews is to be born. We've came to worship him." And Herod's thrown off by this, right? He's like, "Wait a minute, who? I'm I'm the king." And apparently, these guys had enough respect to where Herod wouldn't like, "Oh, I'll just kill y'all. What are you talking about? I'm the king around here." No, he's like, he's showing them honor. He's showing them respect. And he was like, "Well, I'll tell you what, go find him and then come back and tell me, and then I'll come worship him too. I'll just set my kingship over, right? And get out of his way, and I just come pay my respects." And so they go and they end up finding Jesus, and they know not to go back to Herod because they're warned in a dream what Herod wanted to do. So what did Herod do when he realized the wise men weren't coming back? What did Herod do? He slaughtered all the males from age 2 and under in the land that he was in control of. And God had told Joseph and Mary to go to Egypt, so Jesus, of course, wasn't there. But you think about that, like, that's horrible, right? It is. It's horrible. I mean, Herod was so threatened by this that he thought it was best to just go and kill all the boys 2 and under to eliminate the threat. A lot of people read that and like, that's just so bad. It's a lot of kids. Is he any worse than what we're doing in this country? I mean, these weren't even his kids. They weren't his kids. He didn't love them. He wasn't necessarily responsible for loving them and raising them. We read something like that and we're just astonished, right? We're just, oh, I just can't believe evil like that exists. And then we live beside people who are doing the same thing to the children in their womb. And we call it healthcare. We call it women's rights. Oh, you're a man, Darryl. What do you know? I know what's right and wrong. I don't have to be a woman to know what's right and wrong. You know, parenting is tough. It is. I learned a long time ago that parenting is basically teaching your kids to not need you and hoping you do it in a way to where they still want you. And sometimes that can be a you know, tough line to balance. And we don't always get it right. And we as parents, it's important for us to acknowledge our mistakes and try to rectify those things. Parenting it's hard. And I've done a lot of things that I wish I'd have done better at as a parent. And I'm still trying to do better as a parent. And so I get it. It's tough, but I've been called to love these humans, these children who are made in the image of God and came from me. I'm responsible for them. I've never understood love the way I understood love when I've held all my children for the first time. I always wanted to be a parent, and I did it. I tried to do it my way, not God's way, and I've paid a price for it. And I can't sit here and say I regret it because I love my children. I love the children I have. I could never wish for it's worth it for me to go through that for them because I couldn't imagine life without them. But this shows you how twisted sin makes people. If you go back and you read about King David and his son Absalom, I think is how you pronounce it. Technically as a king, David had every responsibility, every right to have his son executed. And you go and you read the Psalms that he wrote. And you see even all the stuff that Absalom did to him. How his heart just yearned for his son. Even with the whole deal with Bathsheba, when he did the horrible thing and had her husband killed and impregnated her, and she was having the baby, and he's fasting, and he's just in this great misery, and the baby doesn't survive, and he's heartbroken. And there's a large number of people who aren't heartbroken over their children anymore, whose desire is not for their children, who would much rather end their life so that they could preserve theirs. See what Herod did, Herod killed all those children that weren't his to preserve his kingship. And nowadays, women do it just to preserve their career, or their ability to be, continue on their narcissistic journey of self fulfillment. That's what they're getting killed over for now. And it's all demonic. It's what it's always going to boil down to. Like, well, Darryl with the demonic talk. I mean, that's what it is. If you read your Bible, if you're a Christian, you should know this. I mean, she even talked about the Lindsay lady. Talked about hearing voices. Sounds demonic to me. Grown enough drugs. I've seen plenty of people who stayed on these drugs, whether like street drugs or over the counter drugs, prescription drugs, who get to a point where I don't know all the specific, science behind it or whatever, but you can do enough of them to where you're opening yourself up for that demonic possession. And that's what these people are doing. Was she possessed? I don't know. I try not to say definitely on those things. I have no idea. This is a major problem that we hate our children enough to where we're in a society where this is even a question. This is even a question. And we wonder why we can't, I can't unify with people who believe it's okay to kill your child. I've said that before and I will always believe that. Like, I don't understand you. I understand why you're where you're at. There's sin. I can't lock arms with you. It's beyond comprehension to me. I've done a lot of bad things. I don't deserve to be saved. None of us do. I know all the things I've done. I know all the things I live with. I know all the regrets I have. And you know, I do make the mistake sometimes of thinking that that's everyone around me, right? Sometimes we can isolate ourselves and think this is everybody. No one loves their children. No one loves their spouses. Everyone only loves himself. I know that's not true because I see plenty of people around me who love their children. I don't have anyone close to me that is for aborting their children. It probably seems like there's a lot more than what there actually is, but the ones that know the truth, know that's a human life, have to be more vocal. This is not something we can sit on the sidelines about. Proverbs 6 talks about the 6 things that God hates, yet 7 are abomination to him. One of those is hands that spill innocent blood. That's an abomination to God. Not only is it a sin, not only abortion a sin, it is an abomination to your creator. There is no more innocent blood than the blood of children. How much more innocent can you get? Hands that shed that blood, God's wrath will be poured out on you if you don't turn away from your sin. Because that is an abomination to him. And this country has sat back and let so much innocent blood spill and done nothing. And shout out to the abolitionists, shout out to the true pro-lifers. I don't mean these fake pro-lifers who get in the way of all the bills that are actually trying to be passed to save children because it keeps them having a job. I mean, the real people, the abolitionist rising, the end abortion nows, all that. There's some people really out there fighting. But a lot of it just has to be Christians not scared to say it and not scared to demand it when they go to the voting booth. And maybe the voting booth that won't change anything. It probably won't. But if you don't think something's going to happen to this country over the innocent blood that's being spilt, you might as well stop reading your Bible because you don't believe it. You think just because we're blessing this so-called Israel, this Zionist Rothschild funded country from the 1940s who hates Christianity and is tied to all kind of demonic stuff. You think that's what's going to save this country after all the innocent blood that we've spilt that's on our hands? You might as well stop reading your Bible because you don't believe it. You don't believe God is who he says he is. I believe it. And I believe he is who he says he is. The issue is love and hate. Do you love others more than you love yourself? I ask myself that question. This all really boils back to what? Pride, right? Pride's at the root of all this. In fact, in that Proverbs 6, the first thing that says that God hates is haughty eyes, arrogance, pride. This is the extreme form of where pride will lead because there's women who want to be able to beat their chest, and men too, weak, cowardly men want to be able to beat their chest and say women have the right to their bodies, and that means they can end the other life that's in their body. That's being moral. Cowards. You're all a bunch of cowards. That's all you are. It's pride, though. Pride is the original sin. And pride is something you got to let go. You got to let go of. It's not worth holding on to. And I want to shift gears from the Lindsay Clancy stuff, the abortion stuff, the kid stuff. And I just want to take these last few minutes to talk about this issue of pride. The Bible says there's pride before the fall, right? And there is. Yeah, I've had a lot on my mind the past week. Someone that I know just lost his wife and not super close to him, but know him. And I can't imagine what he's going through and trying to figure life out. And it's when things like this happen close to you. And like I said, I'm not super close to them, never met his wife or anything. It just kind of makes you reevaluate things. Brings you back to this moment of being fragile, just understanding how fragile life is because we forget that, right? we we're so used to getting up. We take every day for granted. We do because we're so used to getting up and going to sleep that we just keep thinking it's going to happen every single day. And eventually it doesn't. And so when these things happen, it makes you put in perspective different things in your life. And I've been thinking about my grandfather a lot here lately. I've even had some dreams about him. He's been passed away for a few years. But there's no other man outside of Jesus that's walked this earth that I looked up to more than him. And that's no offense to nobody else. It's just, and I wasn't that close to him. But I looked up to him and I was very concerned with what he thought about me. And there for a while, I don't think he thought much, but I understand that because I think he still loved me, but I was an idiot, living like an idiot. But he's the only person that ever wanted to like prove that I could do something, that I could be somebody too. And my life did turn out, a lot better than it should have. I should have made it to where I am today. And I did, and I never formed a close bond with him. I never really formed that bond with him because, life happens. You get used to living certain ways and doing stuff. And then when I got married, he didn't come to my wedding. And I'm not trying to make him sound bad or anything, but he didn't come to my wedding. And it hurt me. I'm This is like supposed to be one of the best days of my life, and I can't stop thinking about him not being there. And how much it hurt my feelings that day. I couldn't even focus completely on what was in front of me. This beautiful woman who was agreeing to marry me because one of the most important people in my life wasn't there by his own choice. And I held on to that. And I held on to this, you owe me an apology. You have to tell me you're sorry. You have to make this right. And that never happened. And so what happened is he died. And I saw him the day before he died. And he wasn't a big, like, he's old school, manly man, wasn't really talking about his feelings, right? And so the day before he died, I went over there to see him. And he's in the bed and he's not responsive. I don't know if he can hear anything I'm saying or he knows what's going on. He's on the brink of death. And I'm just sitting back there in his room, just me and him. And I just sat there for about an hour. And I didn't say a word. I didn't know what to say even then. There was all these things I wanted to say, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't get it out. And after about an hour, maybe not that long, but close to it, I finally just put my hand on his and said, Paul, you're the best man I ever knew. And I love you. And that was it. He died the next day, and we had his funeral. And even at his funeral, I found myself thinking about being upset that he didn't come to my wedding. He's dead. I'm still having this thought. What's wrong with me? 'Cause pride won't let you forgive people. Pride will stand in the way of a lot of good things in your life. And it did it to me. I'll never get a chance to have a relationship with him. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. I don't even think about that now. I finally worked through it all. I don't even think about was he right, was he wrong, whatever. I live with the regret of not making most of the time that I could have had with him. And so I end my show tonight pleading with you. Don't let that happen to you. If there's relationships out there that could be mended, but pride stands in the way of it, kill that pride. I get it. There's stuff that happens, you know, serious stuff that needs to be dealt with 100%. That's not what I'm talking about. I robbed myself of a relationship with the man I respected the most because of my pride. I almost did it with my marriage. I've almost done it with my children. Almost wrecked those relationships because of pride. Pride is what got sin into this world. Pride is what controls the sin in your life. And pride is what will lead you straight to hell. And it'll burn up everything around you on the way. So maybe I don't have any discernment. Maybe I believe in some crazy things. This is one thing I know to be true. And so I pray that whatever it is, you give it to God. You let go of it. And you truly be free. And on that note, I'm going to end this episode. So I love you.